Joining me now is Republican Congressman Don Bacon of Nebraska. Congressman Bacon, welcome back to Meet the Press and happy Easter to you. Thank you for joining us on the holiday.
Thank you, Kristen, and happy Easter to you and all the folks listening today. It's a very special day for all Christians, but thank you.
Well, we really appreciate your being here because I know it is a busy day as well. I want to start right there with aid for Ukraine, which I know you strongly support. And as I just mapped out, it hasn't been brought to the floor for a vote. So my question for you is, when Congress gets back from recess, how confident are you that this aid will be passed, and how's it going to happen, Congressman?
Well, Speaker Johnson is an honest man. He truly walks his faith. He doesn't talk his faith. He walks his faith, shows it. He is committed to making this the top priority when we return back to Washington, D.C. Now, most of the Republicans that I work with, they want military aid. They're not as in support of all the humanitarian aid that was in the Senate bill. So myself and Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania, but also working with Democrats Jared Golden and Ed Case from Hawaii, we put a bill together that focuses on military aid, a $66 billion bill that provides military aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Also has some border security in that. We put this in as a discharge petition, and it gives the Speaker and the House to amend our package. So what I think we're going to do is get a bill that's focused on military aid, but I know the Speaker also wants to have like the Repo Act, where we repossess some Russian assets and help them pay for this. Also, maybe some lend-lease segments to the bill, so some of this may become in the form of loans. But also, it's very important to the Republican side that we just don't give President Biden a blank check. And why is that? A lot of weapons that Ukraine needs, the president has not given them, like long-range ATACMS. He's been providing weapons that provide a stalemate in Ukraine. Why not give Ukraine the weapons that are higher tech, more capable, and it's to help them prevail on the battlefield? So we want to force the president's hand on the kinds of weapons that we will provide.
But Congressman, as you know, President Biden's been asking for this funding, which would allow him and the U.S. to provide more weapons, more ATACMS for 7 months. The fact that this has been held up is part of the reason why they haven't gotten there. Is that not the case? And you mentioned the loan. That's something that Donald Trump supports. Do you think that's how this gets through a loan?
I think there'll be segments to this funding that will be a loan. Won't be the whole thing. But I would say the president has had the ability to provide ATACMS all along and has not done it. So if we do this bill, and I think we will, there's enough support in the House to get this done. And I want to make sure that we have support in the Senate. I don't want to just do a ping pong where we send it back over to the Senate and they don't act. So this has got to be a bicameral, bipartisan solution. But we want to force the president's hand.
But the Senate did send over a bill months ago, Congressman. The Senate did send over a bill months ago, and it got stalled in the House.
Well, it didn't have a lot of bicameral support, at least on the Republican side. Why is that? You have about almost $30 billion in humanitarian aid, and there's not a lot of support for that amount of humanitarian aid going to Ukraine. We think the EU could do a lot more than humanitarian than they are. They just did a $50 billion humanitarian aid, and Germany's committed more. We think our role should be more military aid because that's what we're good at. And so I think I'm optimistic we're going to get this done in 2 weeks. I just want to ensure it's bicameral because I don't want to just send a bill over to the Senate and it doesn't go anywhere. So that's been my main concern. But I have a commitment for the Speaker and the Chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee that we're going to put this on the floor and get a vote. Okay,
well, that's significant. You have a commitment from him. You heard it here. Let me ask you about the Speaker of the House, because you know that some Republicans oppose him putting a Ukraine aid bill on the floor. Do you think he could lose his speakership over this, Congressman?
It's possible. I'm not going to deny it. We have one or two people that are not team players. They'd rather enjoy the limelight, the social media. And the fact is, with a 1-seat majority, and we'll end up with a 3 or 4-seat majority after some special elections, but that's not a 435 people. It's a very narrow majority. And one or two people can make us a minority. And I'm of the view, you work with a team. I don't have to get 100%. 80% is the Ronald Reagan rule. But we have some people that if they don't get 100%, they want to bring the House down, and it makes us dysfunctional. And so that's a possibility. I do think there'll be Democrats, though, who do not want to see this dysfunction. And I think they'll probably vote present or maybe not be there for a vote. But it is very likely that after this Ukraine bill, we may have a standoff with the speaker. I hope the speaker prevails. He's doing the right thing. It's in our national security interest that Ukraine remain independent.
All right, we have a bunch more to get to, so let me turn to impeachment. You said back in December, quote, once we realize there's not a high crime or misdemeanor, we should move on. Has that moment come in your view?
Well, right now, the lawyers in the committee that I talked to say there's not a specific crime, and you need that for a high crime or misdemeanor. Now, I think the investigation it merited an investigation, put the facts out, let the public look at it, make a determination. And I think it's good to be transparent, especially we're in an election year. So let's put the facts out on the table. But when I talk to the lawyers on the committee staff, they say at this point, there is not a specific crime that's been committed. And
so is it time to drop it, Congressman? Is it, I got it, based on what you're saying, is it time to drop it?
I don't know if it's times right now, but I do think we're probably nearing the conclusion of this investigation. And I think it was important for the American people to see that, yes, there was $24 million in foreign money that the family raised and all the hidden LLCs that the money was moved around in. Yeah. But that within itself is not a high crime or misdemeanor.
Yeah. All right. Let me ask you this week, GOP nominee, presumptive nominee Donald Trump shared a video of an image of President Biden bound and restrained in the back of a pickup truck. The Biden campaign responded and said that Trump is, quote, regularly inciting political violence. The former president also attacked the daughter of the judge overseeing his hush money trial in New York. Given that you have endorsed Donald Trump, do you also endorse this threatening rhetoric, Congressman?
No, I don't support the rhetoric. But by the way, we see rhetoric on both sides. I'm the target of a lot of rhetoric on both sides. And I would want us to raise the bar of civility and how we treat the other side of the aisle for sure. Now, I don't think he was inciting violence, but it is representative of the political dialogue we have today. And I see it firsthand. I get the same treatment from the left and the right now. Our country's better than this. We're the strongest country in the world, and we're the best country to live in. But we're not going to remain that way if we treat our opponents in this way. And so that's the first thing I want to raise. We got to be a lot better in how we dialogue with the opposition. But secondly, when it comes to this election, we don't need that. The issues are on our side. In our district, the number one issue, the number two issue, the number three issue is the border. Yeah. And we should be focusing on these issues and quality of life, and we will win.
Congressman, let me just follow up with you. You say he's not inciting political violence, but he has made threatening statements about the daughter of this judge. Is that appropriate? Is it appropriate to be going after judges and their family members?
I'll just say it this way. That's not how I talk. I'll lead by example on this. I think in my debates with my opponents, I focus on the issues, and that's how we win. And I think in Nebraska and the Midwest, we don't like the nastiness. We have a phrase here, Nebraska nice, and it's real. So we could win on the issues, and that's what we should focus on.
Donald Trump is making the case, as you know, that he deserves total immunity. The Supreme Court set to hear arguments in that case. Do you think that a president deserves total immunity, Congressman?
No. All Americans have to live by the law, and we're all accountable for our behavior. And so, especially after you leave the presidency, everybody, any individual can be held accountable through the legal system. And bottom line, every American is equally held responsible under the law.
Okay. Let me ask you finally, if I can, obviously there's been so much focus on the bridge collapse in Baltimore. We've been talking about the fact that the response so far has been bipartisan. Some fiscal conservatives are already saying that providing more funds to Baltimore would be like robbing Peter to pay Paul. What is your assessment? Do you think that more funding should be approved? And on this Easter, what is your message about bipartisanship and the possibility of working together on something like this?
So you have two questions there. First, the federal government does have a role with this bridge. I don't think it should be the sole, payer, but it would probably be a partnership with Maryland, maybe the local authorities. It is a federal highway. In the Constitution, we have responsibility for infrastructure, so there is a role there. And I think so. The federal government's got to do its part. On Easter, I just got to, we got to remind ourselves that, well, first of all, this Resurrection Sunday, it shows that God has power over death, that we have an eternal future with Him with faith, and we can't forget that. It's the most important day of the year for our faith. Secondly, I think our faith calls for the golden rule. It calls for, the fruits of the Spirit in Galatians, that we should treat each other with respect, decency. And I think as Christians, sometimes we forgot that in this political debate. Yeah. We can't allow ourselves to be, we got to hold a higher bar here. Yeah. Okay. And remember the golden rule as we work out the issues facing our country.
All right. Congressman Don Bacon, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.